Howdy, thanks for tuning in. Here's a great shot of Josiah, Allie, and I pulling our newly purchased Catalina 36 yacht out from its slip in Bellingham, Washington to start a long 3-day voyage south to Olympia. To understand how we got the desire to purchase such a beautiful boat and plan a month-long trip sailing through the San Juan Islands, we need to rewind a few years first. I was able to dig up some good home video footage of Allie and I sailing for the first time. This is, in fact, the first time that we raised the mainsail on our Lido 14. It was a nice little day sailor. No one else taught us how to sail. We just learned from books.
Yeah, this is a heavy day out here on the water.
Well, we got the itch, but we needed to take it a little more seriously. So we took some sailing classes with a couple friends down in Santa Barbara, California to get fully certified. Our other friends with a powerboat didn't make it any easier by taking us out to the Channel Islands to explore some hidden anchorages. Man, are they beautiful. Wish you guys could smell the air. Working quickly as Allie and I do, we started looking for some slips in Olympia before we even had a boat to buy. But we knew the boat would fall into place eventually, and it did. After a few surveys and getting the engine checked out and everything like that, Skoal was ours. First, we had to mourn the loss of something that we had that was near and dear to our hearts. Our old camper. Keep in mind the wine that we're drinking here is symbolic, and it's going to come up here later in the story.
We've both been in here crying for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, you don't care about the tears too much. But they were real. Let's fast forward to the good stuff. The paperwork was done, and as Allie can put it eloquently,
that's our freaking sailboat.
That's legit.
It's big, dude.
There she is.
That's a big deal.
Welcome aboard.
This is cool.
I love our boat.
we got some beers, cheered, and provision for the trip south. I'm not against handheld charts, but these iPad units are pretty sweet. Here's me starting up the engine for the first time.
Beauty. Here we go.
Dang.
Yeah.
I quickly figured out that I love to wear slippers on the deck, and I actually didn't take these slippers off the whole trip other than to get into bed. We had some docking practice with a friend's Catalina 32, so I kind of understood the concept, so did Allie, but pulling another 4 feet across the bow was a different story. It definitely reacted different. Gotta get used to it.
We're in the freaking clear.
At this point in the trip, I knew that something was going to be extra magic. Pulling out of Skoal Harbor in Bellingham, Washington with the San Juan Islands dead ahead. Here's us raising the sails for the first time. Allie and I had to learn how to use the outhaul and figure all that stuff out, but eventually we got the sails trimmed right.
Whoa. Wonder what island that is.
We motor sailed for a while until the wind picked up.
Why don't we just for a sec just to see what it feels like?
That's pretty crazy.
Allie's food was to die for. We just couldn't resist it. It was quite amazing. Here's a beautiful shot of Skoal motoring past Anacortes, Washington. Beautiful San Juan Islands in the background, and we had pretty fair weather. There was some serious military base action, and we were able to see Deception Pass as we headed down Whidbey Island. The wind picked up right at our nose, which was a little bit discouraging, but we just kept the binoculars out and looked at the shoreline. It was quite a good time. Screaming airplanes coming in and out. Some of the crew got pretty petered out because we had an early morning. Allie took a nap on deck. It's worth noting that this entire time we're basically just blowing our minds for 8 straight hours at how beautiful everything is and how much fun this whole boat is. Here we are, pulling into our first moorage spot at a state park buoy. I was particularly excited to pull in and grab a mooring buoy for the first time. We got the boat hook out and Josiah went up and grabbed the mooring buoy. I'd never seen one before, even known how they operated. Pretty amazing that you can pay a small fee and hook up to a bunch of different mooring buoys all around the Puget Sound. Here we are, figuring out how to tie up to this thing. I ended up rigging up a lazy line and an active line, which I had read in a book. Seemed like the best way to do it, and the best way to have redundancy. Allie's food was top-notch. We ended the night with a fun game of Settlers of Catan, and Allie swept the board. Waking up the next morning, couldn't believe our eyes. We had a perfect view of the whole state park, and lo and behold, we could see the Olympic Mountains, no problem. It was peaceful out there, mighty peaceful. Especially when you had the coffee brewing downstairs and some delicious peanut butter banana toast. Josiah navigated us back out the channel and used the iPad for help. Again, so helpful to just have those great tech pieces on board. As always in the Puget Sound, you see some great wildlife.
Wow, there's a lot.
This time around, we actually saw a submarine getting loaded up with what looked to be nukes.
Dude, that's
No
a
joke.
fucking sub with an American flag.
I think they were headed off to Russia. We started sailing wing on wing because we had a nice downwind run. It was good fun for a bit until we got over it and started up the motor and didn't see any water coming out of the exhaust. So I ended up having to change the raw water impeller. I had to clean the sea strainer as well. Definitely a little bit of a hiccup in the trip, but it only took me about an hour to get everything all sorted. And celebration was in order. So the wine that we poured earlier in the video is actually this same bottle of wine, and we drank some of it in our old Westphalia, and we finished the bottle on Skoal.
In honor of the van.
In honor of the van.
So it felt symbolic to pour some out on Skoal and to pour some out in the Puget Sound as a kind of a thanks and a sharing of a new sense of adventure in a new area with a new rig.
It is now part of the family.
Nice sloppy kiss.
That was good.
Again, just great wildlife, and man, you couldn't get your eyes off the food either. Josiah said that might have been one of the best paninis he'd ever had. We were really thankful to have Josiah along because it allowed Allie and I to get some tasks done that we otherwise couldn't have. Here that you can see I'm cleaning out and reorganizing the entire portside lazarette. It's really nice to get everything all cleaned out in there. All the engine oil sorted through, found heaps of spare parts, and also threw away a bunch of old stuff that had expired that just wasn't going to be useful on our voyages. Took a turn into Eagle Harbor and said hi to the ferry boats along the way. We were real grateful to have the sun out and shining, and it actually made it kind of warm. This would be my second time docking our boat ever, and it went well because it was a side tie-up with nobody on our starboard side, so everything was nice and smooth, and our neighbor helped us.
Thanks.
Josiah and I went exploring and went to pay the dock fees. Josiah treated Allie and I to a fun dinner and drinks out on the town. It was really a hoot, just good conversation, great food, and walked around town and explored everything for a bit. It was great fun.
Oh, Joe! Oh, no!
We got to bed pretty late, so woke up late and went and grabbed coffee at a coffee shop. It turns out that our late departure would actually come to bite us in the butt later. You'll see why. Here I am pumping the poop straight out of the tank. It was a brutal one. Never done that before, but glad I figured it out because our tank's getting kind of full. Foul weather was in the air. We put up this bimini top that we had never tried deploying before, and it actually has a great amount of coverage. Unfortunately, it sacrifices some visibility, but it doesn't matter too much when it's pouring rain. You'd just rather be dry. Here's Allie again.
Oh, wow.
Just absolutely blessing us with food as we go under the Tacoma Narrows and observe some fun boats that are along the way. Here, this man was in distress, but the Charlie came over to help him. Thanks, Charlie. We were able to explore some islands in the South Sound on our way through Olympia, and we ended up motor sailing for a while, and it bought us about an extra 3 knots. We were cruising with the tide, full open Genoa, and the motor. We were going about 9.5 knots, making great time on our way back to Olympia. Part of the plan was to drop Allie off at home so she could grab a car and meet Josiah and I down at the marina. We hadn't parked a car down there because there's no long-term parking, so we just figured we'd park at our house and Allie could bring the car down later.
See ya.
In a bit.
Great travels.
Good times together.
Thanks for the food.
Gritting our teeth on the last hour back through Butt Inlet to get to our marina. I will say the marina was extra tight. I wasn't pleased with the fairway at all. It's about half the size of what I had practiced on, and you can't actually fit the boat sideways in the fairway, which makes pulling in and out pretty difficult. Thankfully, we had just enough light to where I could barely see the edge of the dock, and we were able to pull it in nice.
We good?
Yeah, you seem good. We'll guide you in.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.